Battling temperatures near the century mark, it was a hometown boy coming out of retirement, Donnie Schmidt. Number 100, the hole shot. Kudrowski and Ward also with good starts. Jeff Emig and teammate John Dowd then saw their hopes hit the dirt.
You know, when somebody came over, landed on me, I could see him coming over on me in the air, and I actually let go of my bike and like pushed theirs away. And luckily, I got away without any injury, but unfortunately, my bike didn't.
Mike Kudrowski, with his mechanic reminding him of Daytona, passes Schmidt for the lead. Both Emig, who finished 21st, and Dowd 11th, had to pit for immediate temporary repairs. Meanwhile, up front, it was Kudrowski and number 3, Jeremy McGrath, passing and repassing. Number 1, LaRocco, came from 10 seconds back to make it a three-way battle for the lead. LaRocco, looking for a contract for next year, was just too much for either MK or Jeremy, especially in the infamous Millville Sand Whoops. He passed Jeremy for second, then took on his Kawasaki teammate in the Sand Whoops.
I grew up a little bit with, I stayed some winters in Florida, and, you know, I got to ride them pretty well, so it's helped me out a lot in my career, and you know, it did today.
LaRocco, Kudrowski, McGrath, Ward, and Schmidt, the top 5. Moto 2, watch quick. Number 6, Jeff Emig, the hole shot, and as fate would have it, McGrath and LaRocco get into it in turn 1.
I was just coming into the corner, probably approximately 8th or so, and my front end just washed out, and nothing I could do but lay on the ground and cover up. You know, there was some guys, a guy hit me in the back and knocked the wind out of me, so I had to kind of take it easy for the first lap and then get going.
McGrath up and going in 15th. LaRocco is out for the day with a hyperextended knee. Emig the lead, while Kudrowski battles with Emig's teammate John Dowd, number 14. Donnie Schmidt passes Damon Bradshaw on his way to a 4th place moto and overall finish. The Minnesota native Schmidt came out of retirement calling up Honda of Troy. They gave him Swank's Supercross bike with the word if he got into the top 5, he would have a shot at Washougal. The hometown fans loved it. Out front, a Yamaha duel. Dowd, winning his test with Kudrowski, was putting the heat on Emig. He gets by him into the lead. McGrath was pouring it on, trying to recapture lost points. He would make it all the way back to 5th, moving on to the overall podium. Dowd the checkers. Emig, Kudrowski, Schmidt, and McGrath the order. McGrath now by 33 points with 6 motos left on the season. Kudrowski strengthening his hold on 3rd with the overall trophy. There was a big get-well card being signed in Millville for Honda's 6-time national champion Jeff Stanton. Stanton suffering injuries in a Michigan pavement accident. The 27-year-old who officially retired last year was hit by a car driven by a Battle Creek, Michigan woman when her brakes apparently failed on a highway exit ramp. Jeff underwent 5.5 hours of reconstructive surgery. He's got more surgery to come, but a full recovery is expected. He was riding at the time with fellow Honda teammate Steve Lamson.
I mean, it was unbelievable. I thought he was dead, but luckily he was all right. I mean, he did break his collarbone on a couple of places, shattered his elbow, and ankles messed up pretty bad, and I think his wrist and thumb was broken too. So he broke some bones for sure, but I'm just glad that he was awake and conscious of the whole thing.
Our best wishes go out to Jeff for a speedy recovery. And fans, by the way, are encouraged not to try to contact Jeff directly. Communicate with him instead through Team Honda in Torrance, California. Now, elsewhere on the Supercross front, the AMA has decided not to suspend any of the riders who refused to race the Las Vegas finale due to a power outage and the use of makeshift lighting on the racetrack. Art, you've been following the situation. What's your sense of it?
Bob, it's pretty simple. The AMA said rider safety was the primary issue. In a statement released earlier this week, the AMA Inquiry Board decided the riders' statements were consistent with safety concerns. The safety of our professional riders will always be of paramount importance. And as a result, no action will be taken. So McGrath, Kudrowski, Craig, Henry, and Swink will be welcome on the Supercross tracks in January.
And with that, let's turn to this week's 1-800-COLLECT Honda scoreboard. At round 12 of the World 250 Motocross Series in Poland, Belgian Marnik Vervoets posted a clean 1-1 on his Suzuki for the overall, ahead of points leader and countryman Stefan Everts. American Talon Boland no-pointed Moto 2 and continues to fade in that championship. The prestigious 8-hour endurance race fell to the Honda of New Zealand.
Leader Haruchika Aoki out on the first lap. He tangles with number 14 Akira Saito, Aoki's 2nd DNF of the year. Now, what do you do when a lapper gets in your way? Try kicking him off the bike, like reigning world champion Kazuto Sakata did. Sakata, suffering from a mediocre year, continued to take out his frustrations, pointing out that he may be 3rd in points, but number 1 in his own heart. Sakata picks up his first victory in nearly a year. Despite the DNF, Aoki still holds a huge points lead over Stefano Perugini. Sakata 59 points back in third.
Now, our sources report 250 world champ Max Biaggi has signed a new contract with Aprilia for next season, in which he will be the only 250 Works rider. His salary is rumored to have 7 digits. The future of teammate Jean-Michel Bayle, the former motocross world champion, is yet to be determined. Now, Art, what's the latest scoop in drag racing?
Bob, as you know, the annual NHRA Mile High Nationals at Denver's Bandimere Speedway always produces drama. And this year's surprise was the absence of the defending champ and points leader from the Pro Stock Bike Final. That's part-time dragster and full-time funeral director Russ Olmsted in the left lane, hoping to bury John Smith, who set a new track record ET of 8.051 in qualifying. Smith had the odds in his favor with great lights all day, but he broke too early when it really counted. Olmsted with the upset and a second trip to the finals this year. Now, check out this view of the other semifinal round. Eyes focused, the adrenaline pumping. You can feel what's going through the mind of reigning champion and 95-leader Dave Schultz. But what you can't see from this angle is Schultz's red light. He jumps the gun by 1/100th of a second. His longtime nemesis, John Myers, advances to the final round. Victory is sweet for the star of star racing, already with 2 event wins this season. 2 Suzukis in the final. Both Olmsted and Myers justifiably cautious at the light. But Myers takes the whole shot and sets an even newer track record ET of 8.017 next to Russ's 8.18. Again, victory belongs in that lucky left lane, and the crew is happy, to say the least. Myers is creeping up on Schultz in the championship battle, now each with 3 wins. It's a nice change to see some real competition in that series. It looks like Schultz could have his hands full the rest of the season, Bob.
No question about it. It gets tougher every year. Thanks, Art. Now, in a moment, strange creatures come out at night in Ohio. We'll explain when Motoworld continues.
Motoworld is being brought to you in part by the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute, the only major manufacturer-endorsed motorcycle training institution.
There is a place pilots talk about, but few have ever been. It's a place where training, aircraft design, indeed a pilot's ability to stay cool, are put to the absolute test. Presenting the Challenge of Flight, an exclusive new series that takes you where no aviation videos have ever gone before. Start with Final Approach. Be there when it all goes wrong, when raw power, fear, and the ejection seat is all the pilot has left. In incredible detail and first-hand accounts, you'll see what happens low and slow over a pitching carrier deck. Gear up with nowhere to go. And in the bunker when you test how bad it can be. Be an eyewitness to history as you watch exclusive footage declassified and released here for the very first time. Order your copy of Final Approach and go where few pilots have ever been before.
Use your credit card and call 1-800-528-3223. Other tapes will follow. Cancel anytime. There's no obligation. That's 1-800-528-3223.
Question. What do you call hockey when the ice melts?
Roller Hockey International. All the action. Hold the ice.
Communication involves a sender, a receiver, a medium, and a message.
Listen carefully.
Did you hear that?
Team Suzuki presents the Motoworld Suzuki Event Calendar. A look at some of the major events coming up in the world of motorcycles and ATVs.
Coming up next weekend, the AMA Superbikers visit Gateway International Raceway in Illinois, across the Mississippi from St. Louis. Miguel Duhamel is looking for his 5th in a row. The dirt track set will begin the second half of their season in the thin air of Denver's Rocky Mountain Speedway on Saturday night. And then on Sunday, the AMA Hill Climbers will point them skyward in the Appalachian Mountains at Danville, West Virginia. When you get home from the races, be sure to tune into Motoworld for all your results and highlights. Now, speaking of hill climbs, round 6 of the national title campaign last weekend in Ohio presented the Grip and Rip set under the lights for the first time this season. Black tie was optional, and as Brian Drebber reports, so were shoes.
Lights were in place for this night race, but in the daylight, some excellent first runs were turned in, notably by Richard Soder III, whose early sub-5-second run held up for the 540 class win, his third of the season. Local favorite Terry Thompson aimed for the sky, but came up short of a mid-air collision with an ultralight and a half-second short of a win, ending up fourth. Defending champion Paul Pincenalt had trouble when his machine malfunctioned. He would have to pin his hopes on a second run. When the big bikes came up for their first runs, round 4 winner Jim Dingy launched his machine up the hill, but could make no better than a 5:57, good for eventual 7th place. Glendale Petty Jr. clawed his way to the first sub-5 second run to take the early lead. It only lasted until Captain America Steve Dresser cleaned the hill in under 4.5 seconds and waited for someone to top it. While preparations were made and strategies contemplated for the second round, some of the gathered faithful lined up for the traditional foot race. Being perhaps more sound of body than of mind, these guys scrambled for the top the old-fashioned pre-internal combustion engine way, fueled by goodness knows what. And check out the barefoot guy leading the charge. Barefoot Man proved that Mother Nature's all-natural traction and four-paw drive is the way to go. Things had gone pretty much without incident for a while, but as darkness began to fall, the second round runs quickly set a pattern of near disasters. Let's face it, gravity never sleeps, and if you believe any different, well, you're probably going to take up hill climbing. Another way to approach this dilemma is to make it an adventure. Hey, good runs just don't last long enough. Paul Pincenalt avoided mishap on his second run, but couldn't match Soder's time and had to settle for second. In the 800 class, Greg Williams set out to improve his first run time, but perhaps thought better of it just a little too late. His early run stood up for 5th. 1994 champ Lou Gerenzer's run put him in 4th, a half-second behind the leader. When the dust all settled, Steve Dresser owned the trophy and the champagne for his first 800cc class win and the season points lead after 6 races. 540 winner Rick Soder joined him in the celebration, but despite winning his 3rd race of the season, still trails Paul Pincenalt by a single point. Brian Drever reporting for Motoworld.
You never realize just how steep those hills are until you try walking to the top. Thanks, Brian. Now, coming up next on Motoworld, the buck and a quarter class heats up at the Millville Motocross, so stay with us.
Neon halo holds you tight. Oh, so tight. Though that nighttime is a lady.
Honda, ride with us.
Now get financing as low as 8.8% with no money down on select new Honda models.
Pro football, to some it's just a game. But to ESPN, it's our business. We broadcast the battles. Now ESPN gives you the stories behind the lines. It's ESPN's Pro Football 95, the new Pro Football Bible. We put what we know down on paper. Team-by-team analysis, features, player profiles. Chris Berman leads an ESPN All-Star squad forecasting who'll soar and who'll dive in 95. Don't be left in the dust. Available at newsstands everywhere.
You can compare the Suzuki RF to a lot of things. Another motorcycle isn't one of them.
Just when the guy who's a distant 6th in the points could have gracefully slipped out of the title hunt, what does he do? He picks up his 2nd win of the season. Opening moto, Robbie Raynard, number 22, took the whole shot and quickly had a 5-second lead. Number 53, Michael Brandis, who's only scored points in one of the race this year, passes Mike Brown for 2nd. It would be Brandis's moment of glory, later fading to 20th. Michael Brown, truly a victim. Steve Lampson, only 4 points away from Ryan Hughes in the points chase, gets by him, and then Hughes to set up a tremendous dicing. Hughes making the move on Lampson to protect his points lead. Raynard was tooling out front by 11 seconds, while behind him, Lammy was having his troubles. Raynard the checkers with Hughes in 2nd. Lampson regrouped for 3rd. Mike Brown and Damon Huffman rounding out the top 5.
It's a pretty good track. It's nice and rough and everything, and I'm going to go out there and do the best I can the second moto and hopefully for a good start, too.
Moto 2, number 19, Michael Craig. Lampson and Raynard get the good jump, but watch Raynard with the inside line. Moves out in front once again, never to look back. By the end of lap 1, Raynard had a 3-second lead on Lampson. Hughes, way back in 10th, was on the charge. The big question, would he tire quicker in the blistering heat? Hughes passes Buddy Antonez, the Camel Skull Top 125 Privateer Award winner. A hint of things to come. Hughes bobbling. A shade later, down he went. Huffman in third, but 12 seconds in back of Lampson. Raynard, sweeping both motos, is back. Lampson, Huffman, Craig, and Hughes, the top 5. Hughes and Lampson now tied in the title chase. Huffman still in the hunt, 11 points back. Brown and Raynard rounding out the top 5.
Now to ATV racing and the quest for the Grand National Championship of four-wheeling. First, we'll flip the calendar back a couple of weeks and pick up the MXers in Pennsylvania. Keep an eye on number 7, Travis Spader. After a long season of broken clutches and flat tires, it was refreshing to see his bad luck turn around with a definitive hole shot. Although I'm sure no one was less surprised than Spader himself when a blown radiator hose sent him from first to last in less than 2 laps. Jumping to the front was the number 4 machine of Tim Farr. Would series points leader Doug Gust have something to say about that? You bet. Check out this amazing wheel-to-wheel-to-wheel-to-wheel battle. Farr manages to shut the door on the oft-touted Jeremy McGrath of ATVs in every corner. North American Superbikes mount their return to road racing headlines. And the flat trackers are a smash, even in unintended ways, as network television spotlights the Peoria TT. All this and more is coming your way on Motoworld. Normally, we'd open our coverage with the featured 250 class. But last weekend in Washougal, Washington, Jeremy McGrath's continued 250 dominance was thoroughly upstaged by a terrific 125 race. And where do we begin, Art?
Well, Bob, there are almost too many stories to mention here in this series. Just when the riders and the fans were ready to see that tie for the series points lead broken, enter 2 unexpected heroes of the weekend, a first-time national winner and a local rider making his podium debut. Number 19, Michael Craig won the whole shot, with local privateer Jason McCormick, number 51, Mikkel Fashone, and Mike Brown in good shape. McCormick, who makes a weekly search for expense money, gaining points in 6 events this season, took the lead away from Craig on the opening lap. He found himself battling with 101 Fashone. It was Brown trying to get back into the points race, riding on the edge. The Honda of Troy teammates, Craig and Brown, staged a good first lap battle until Brown goes down. Neither points leader got great starts. Number 9, Ryan Hughes in 6th, while Steve Lampson paid dearly for his slower getaway. Ryan Huffman put him down. Lampson in 39th place. Lap 2, Fashone would take his first lead since Mount Morris. One of the best 125 rivalries of the day, number 9, Ryan Hughes and 51 McCormick. It was back and forth with these two in Moto 1. Hughes finally securing 3rd, while McCormick would slip back to finish 7th. It was never-ending for Fashone, trying to hold off hard charges from Hughes, number 22, Robbie Raynard, and then later Damon Huffman. Fashone would end up in 5th. With championship points dancing in his head, Hughes inherited the lead. His rival Lampson had passed 21 bikes, but was still back in 18th, 47 seconds in back of the leader. Lampson would finish in 12th. Robbie Raynard, coming off a 2-moto sweep at Spring Creek, was flying again. This would be the final lead change of this moto. Raynard on his way to victory. The most incredible late race comeback honor goes to number 26, Mike Brown. He challenged and passed Huffman for 3rd and Hughes for 2nd after coming all the way back from the crash-inflicted 20th place. Brown 2nd, Hughes 3rd, Raynard the checkers for his 3rd straight moto win, but bad news for Moto 2. Robbie Raynard's tender knee would keep him at the back of the field in Moto 2, and with Hughes in 6th and Lampson a 12th place start, it became a Mike Brown versus 3 privateers up front. Number 38, Scott Sheik with the whole shot, with Chad Pedersen, number 36, and McCormick again in the hunt. Number 26, Brown, wasted no time passing Sheik for the lead. He would also immediately begin extending it to 17 seconds. McCormick, on his way to his first national motocross podium, was next to get by Sheik. Number 51 in 2nd place. Making their way into contention, points leaders number 9 Hughes and number 5 Lampson. After losing 11 points to Hughes in Moto 1, Lammy gets by him for 5th and would charge past Pedersen and Sheik to take on McCormick for 2nd. It was a real crowd pleaser. The locals screaming for McCormick, side by side with the factory Honda. Hughes would try to follow, leaving Pedersen and Sheik to battle it out. A skirmish Sheik would win. Up front, Lampson was magnificent. Time running out with 4 laps to go. He was down to Brown by 12 seconds. 3 laps left. It was 9 seconds. 2 laps remaining. 3 seconds. It set the stage that had the fans running from all over the track to view this great finish. It was Brown at the checkers, his first overall win.
Main thing, I just wanted to win, get overall for the rears over, and I mean, ride my hardest, and I did, and I won overall today.
And he won a bet with his mechanic, Jeff Nutter. Off came the hair and a 15-year growth under the chin. Privateer Jason McCormick held off Hughes for third and was reduced to tears after not only placing third overall and winning the Camel Skull Top Privateer money, but also $3,600 raised from the fans for the Top Oregon Washington Rider Award. A big financial boost after having both his bikes stolen at Troy, Ohio. With 2 more races, it's Hughes by 6 points over Brown, and Lamson knocking at the door 7 points back.
It's great to see the crowd get behind their man, and Bob will have all the action from the 250s later in the show. Got some great get-offs to show you.
I know we do. I snuck a look at the tape. Thanks, Art. Hughes and Steve Lanson will ride the 500 and 125, respectively, bracketing 250 title hopeful Jeff Emig, who will carry the colors in that class. The U.S. team hopes to regain the title it lost to the British last year after a 12-year reign. Jeremy McGrath for that title. He can't afford to split motos.
Bob, no question about that. With only 4 remaining motos, Jeff Emig needs to win big. But he may have it in him. Jeff Emig announced to the world last weekend in Washington that he's changed his riding style for that championship stretch.
I've lost that many points, I've gained that many points, and there's still 3 races left, and until, you know, the final flag drops, you know, at the final national, well, okay, well, then we can crown the champion. You know, with a little luck and a lot of hard riding and a lot of fast laps, I think, you know, I can be that guy.
The 2 quickest starters were right there again after the gate drop. McGrath number 3, the whole shot, with Emig right on his rear fender. Last week's overall winner, Mike Kudrowski, hits a small boulder dislodged by the front runners. He goes down, and Damon Bradshaw follows suit. Emig, living up to his aforementioned hopes, surprises McGrath, taking the lead before scorers can record the first lap. Number 15, Kyle Lewis, beginning his best day of the season in third, leading a 3-bike, no-lean Yamaha contingent. Larry Brooks, number 21, and Larry Ward in 4th and 5th. It was remarkable. Number 21 was even on the track after an accident at the San Jose Supercross almost took his arm. Behind Team No Lean, a 4-way freight train of privateers battling for 5th. Emig out in front wasn't simply satisfied with the lead. He ran it up to 9 seconds. Ward would get by his teammates, but Honda of Troy's James Dobb on a mission slips by number 11 for a 3rd-place finish. McGrath saved his breath for Moto 2, cruising to 2nd place. Emig wins his 5th Moto of the year. Moto 2, it was McGrath and Emig again, with Lewis in 3rd, on way to his first 95 podium, a 3rd overall. Rain started to slicken the track, and a 3-lap duel between number 6 and number 3 was defined early. Emig goes flying. Bruised and battered, Emig somehow clears his head, ignores the pain to get back into a fight for 2nd with Lewis. McGrath, the opportunist, pulls a 20-second lead on his rival. David Bradshaw, number 114, after a 17th in Moto 1, was riding a solid Moto 2. He made his move on Lewis for 3rd, his best Moto finish in his comeback. Emig giving it a good fight for 2nd. Jeremy, the checkered flag, gaining his 5th overall win of the season, his 8th Moto victory.
Honda was working really good at the 2nd Moto, and, you know, there's no reason I shouldn't have won that race.
McGrath holds his 33-point lead on the championship ladder. Larocco, out for the season with an injured knee, holds on to 5th in the standings.
Mathematically, this series is probably going to go down to the final moto before someone clinches the title. But I think if McGrath pulls through big in the next round at Binghamton, New York, Bob, all he's going to have to do is stay upright in Delmont, Pennsylvania.
That long-awaited first title. Thanks, Art. Now let's take a step back from the professional motocross scene and catch the stars of the future in action in one of the biggest amateur events of the year. To Ponca City we go, and typical of rural Oklahoma, the weather was the talk of the town. You needed pontoons on your RV to enter the Ponca City campground. A torrential downpour meant the first day of practice had to be canceled. You could say it was an ominous start to a week of racing among 1,100 entries. But according to officials, it wasn't the muddiest day in the NMA event's 20-year history.
No, we've had it worse. We had, just right where we're standing here, I had a tractor pulling a tractor one time.
Well, it's hard to believe it could be much worse than this. Talk about mud up to the axles. Just ask Pee Wee expert James Stewart for his take on strategy.
My strategy is going to be to ride smart It don't matter what the fastest you go. It matters who stays up or not.
Well, James is good at staying up, and he can also tell you that goggles are useless when the mud is flying. There's a souvenir for someone who can say he knew James Stewart back when he was a peewee. Now, with 31 championships up for grabs, including a $3,000 purse for the big boys, it's only appropriate that we up the ante and offer up some Motoworld honors. How about one for the most dramatic start? Watch number 201 in the 60cc stock class, who got off to a rough start. Domino effect in the back. The race to turn 1 got ugly in the 250 stock intermediates. Ouch, don't run me over, don't run me over. And as for the 80cc mods, watch this. Alpine ski racers call this a faceplant. Fortunately, everybody got up to race on, and the nice thing about being 11 is you don't have as far to fall. It's comforting when even rough afternoons can lead to an award for best winner's soundbite, short and to the point.
Yeah, I had a few crashes, but I still won.
The guys least needy of Motoworld kudos are the ones who went home with trophies or cash in their pockets. 441 Robbie Skaggs and 502 Michael York split the 125 and 250 stock and modified titles. Suzuki supported Travis Pastrana, who calls himself a mudder from Maryland, took home both 80cc championships for riders 11 and under. He wouldn't change a thing about the weather, unless you're talking about one of his rivals.
Well, for Carmichael, I'm hoping for a lot more rain.
Carmichael is teen phenom Ricky Carmichael, and when the Oklahoma rain gods finally had mercy Saturday, Ricky won the Super Minis championship over Travis, making for a sweep of all 3 events he entered. On to our final honor of the week, the unanimous crowd favorite, the award for most airtime. Watch high-flying 16-year-old Charlie Bogart from Texas, who races with support from country star Delbert McClinton. Charging Charlie normally wins everything he enters. This time he was a little down on his luck, taking only 2 of 5 championships, but his antics alone were worth the price of admission. We should add the real heroes of the event were the track workers. By week's end, the surface was in tip-top condition. Congratulations to all 31 champions.
Undisclosed sum, Art. Bob Roger DeCoster told us right here on Motoworld there was only one available rider out there who he believed could win. That was LaRocco. It was important in rebuilding the 250 Suzuki program to get him. The offer was substantial. It was a tough decision for LaRocco. In fact, Kawasaki matched Suzuki's offer, so it wasn't a matter of money. And in talking with Mike, I think he wanted to leave a lot of that bad luck behind him and go for a new, fresh start. Plus, Mike holds a great deal of respect for DeCoster's ability to improve the program.
And the factories both showed a lot of respect for the Rocket's ability to come back from that knee injury.
True. Mike really didn't think that injury at Millville was that serious at first. In fact, he walked on it a week after. But a U.S. ski team doctor in Utah reconstructed that left knee using a hamstring graft. It's estimated that he'll lose only 6% of the strength in that knee, but knowing what a conditioning fanatic LaRocco is, he could
Got to admire the kid's guts, but if I were him, I'd stick to the sandbox. And remember, there are only 2 kinds of hill climbers, those that have crashed acrobatics and all.
All classes, and with over $70,000 in prize money, no one went home empty-handed. Mechanics could be